Hi, I'm Crystal.
Hi, I'm Liv.
I'm Donut.
And I'm Karin. And you're listening to the Rom-Com Detectives.
Welcome to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 57, The Way of the World, the next episode in our Mentalist unit. Today, Karin and I will be breaking down the finale of season 1 called Red John's Footsteps. And today we're also joined by not one, but two rom-com consultants. Livbon has been a guest on our show before, but for our listeners, please give us a quick refresher on your Mentalist fandom background.
Sure. So I'm Livbon, and I only watched the show for the first time last spring. So it's been about a year now. That's almost my Mentalist anniversary, I guess. And yeah, I'm really active on Tumblr at Queen Persephone and on AO3 at Light Loves the Dark. I write a lot of fan fiction for Jane and Lisbon and for the whole team. So yeah, that's my general background.
And then we have Donuts, who has been a guest on our Lucifer unit before, but this is her first time as a consultant for our Mentalist unit. Donuts only just recently finished her first watch, so can you give us a brief rundown on your Mentalist background?
Yeah, so I guess I discovered it through you, Crystal. It was not on my radar at all, but you know, in chatting with you and others in the Lucifer Discord, it's like TM kept coming up, like TMT. I was like, why are they trademarking everything? And, and so, of course, over time, I learned that it was the Mentalist, and I came over to the Bullpen, and I started watching the series. Was it like last summer maybe, and I just finished recently, and I have not even done a complete full rewatch yet, so I feel like I'm very much like a rookie consultant in this area.
All right, so this episode originally aired on May 19, 2009. It was written by Bruno Heller and directed by Chris Long. Before we get to the case briefing, a quick TV police update. It's been announced now that Owen Yeoman and Tim Kang are going to be coming to the Mentalist Bullpen Discord server for a live Q&A on March 7, 2026 from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So if you want to join, you can head to discord.gg/mentalistbullpen. We're currently taking question submissions, so if you want to submit one for the mods to consider, you can DM me at I'm Angry Little Pico. We had originally pushed our Red John Footsteps episode up to coincide with the TV Police's release of their own finale episode, but due to a change in their schedule, it looks like we're going to be releasing ours a few days before theirs, not after. And then the watch party for their finale episode has been pushed back 1 week to Saturday, March 14. The Q&A is going to be from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. So, okay, case briefing. Karin, tell us what the DVD booklet says and what they spoiled this time.
All right, here we go. A dead girl on the ground, a smiley face drawn in the sky. Is Red John starting a new killing spree or setting a trap for Patrick?
It's a bit on the nose as to what exactly happens.
The title relevance, we meet the first of many of Red John's disciples, and this one seems to want to follow in Red John's footsteps.
Dun dun dun. The victim and cause of death, Emma Plaskett, age 19.
And the CBI is involved because her body was found on state land at a state park. So specifically Crockett State Memorial Park in San Angelo. And this was I noticed there was a little goof in this part because the text on the screen says Crockett State, but then the signage at the actual park says Crocker State. And actually, I didn't look it up. Is that a real park? I assume they made up the sign for it, like to make a.
I tried to look it up. I think something existed in like Massachusetts or somewhere on the East Coast.
Is San Angelo a real place?
San Angelo.
Yeah, San Angelo.
Is it a real place? Or I saw that it's like, yeah, there's a San Angelo, Texas, and there's a San Angelo neighborhood within a California town. So it's as depicted here. No, there is no.
Oh, there is a San Angelo Park in LA County.
And there's a Crocker Park in Brisbane, California. I don't know where that is.
Well, I guess that just means that they made up their combination of with their location. But the killer in this one is Red John, so this makes it for this season in the current timeline. I think that makes it 3 victims, right? Because there's Jared Renfrew, there's Juana, the prostitute, and then there's Emma Plaskett. So that's 3.
Yes.
That's not including like past cases. The motive was to get Patrick Jane. And then guest stars, there were a lot of big ones in this one. They brought a lot of people on for their finale. There was Michael William Freeman. He played Mace, and he's from Fear the Walking Dead. He's been on Bones, Code Case, and The Closer. Kate Vernon, she played the mother, Arden Plaskett, and she's been on Nash Bridges, Condor, Sullivan's Crossing. But what I know her from is Battlestar Galactica. Have you guys seen that show? Yeah. So I was like, oh, it's Ellen
Yeah.
Ty.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Pearson, he played Noah Plaskett. This dude has been on so much TV. I was looking at his page and I had to just keep scrolling. I was like, holy cow, he does so much work. But he's been on Designated Survivor, Dexter, Castle, and he's been on 24. And then Alicia Witt, she played Rosalind Harker. She's been on Orange is the New Black and Justified. But what I remember her from most is Dune. She played Alia, Paul's little sister. She was just a little kid in that movie, but oh my god, she was really good. And then finally, there's Michael Mosley. He played Sheriff Hardy, and he's from Castle. He was most recently on, or the thing I saw him in recently was Ballard. He was really good in that, and he's been on Ozark and Scrubs among other things. But it was kind of funny because of who he is on Castle. As soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, oh, he's the bad guy. Turns out it was right. I was like, oh, what a spoiler. All right. Jane Skill's in the episode. Karin, you want to do this
Yeah,
one?
we don't have a lot for this one, but he does some cold reading and deduction.
I guess we should actually add his Red John knowledge to this too, right? He's like the Red John expert.
Oh, yes.
All right. Episode breakdown. The episode opens with Rigsby grumbling to Cho that the killer dumped the body in the state land, or he says the only state land within 100 miles. And so he's kind of like grumbling that is their case, but I was a little confused by this part because he's like, well, did you see the body? And they are already suspecting that it's Red John. And so I just didn't understand why he's griping that it's got dumped on state land and made their case by default, because I feel like if he thinks it's a Red John case, it would be their case anyway, right? So I wasn't sure why he was saying what he was saying.
I was thinking maybe he's not sold on it yet. Like, they have like some thoughts that it could be Red John. And I think was it Cho who said there's no coincidences?
No, Rigsby says there's no
Yeah.
Yeah, Cho says it's a coincidence, and Rigsby says that if Jane taught him anything, and then he doesn't get to finish his sentence. So,
But yeah, so maybe like I'm thinking they're not certain, and they're just like, oh no, like this is going to trigger Jane. Like I'd at least like to know that it was a Red John case before bringing him in, because that guy's crazy.
Yep, that's what I got from it too. That Rigsby just doesn't want to be the one to have to tell Jane what's going on here.
But so Cho fills him in on the victim, who's Emma Plaskett. She's a local girl, and she's got a twin sister who is also missing. So this is a double kind of case that they're working. It's a murder and it's a kidnapping, or active kidnapping. So there's that I feel like that added a certain sense of urgency, like that other cases don't really have. And then they meet Sheriff Hardy. Jane goes to look at her body, and he notices how her throat's been cut, and he looks at her toenails, and they're painted red with her blood. And so that really throws him off, and he calls Lisbon over, and she looks at it, and she's like Rigsby, she's like, oh, it's a coincidence. But he says there's no such thing as coincidences when it comes to Red John. And we had learned about the toenail detail in Red John's Friends with Jared Renfrew. That was the detail that he had given Jane to convince him that he's actually legit. So but as he's talking about this, they hear a plane, and they look up in the sky, and there's skywriting with Red John smiley. So what was your guys' reaction when you first saw this episode to that?
It feels like so off his usual MO. That, you're not getting the smiley face first. But maybe that's why he painted the toenails, because he wanted that to be the jarring
Mm.
detail. But I don't know. It feels over the top to me.
My reaction was that it was impeccable timing,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
having this
Yeah.
conversation right as the skywriting happens. I mean, that's some top tier planning.
I did really appreciate the drama of the scene though, just to
Yes.
have them all looking up in the sky. It just gives you chills. So like the whole like this is kind of like weird feeling comes afterward, but I think in the moment I was really wowed by it.
Yeah, in the moment, it's good.
And I think like it goes a little bit to like the idea that this kill is to get Jane. It's a kill for like a secondary purpose. Like I feel like most of Red John's kills are to kill, like,
To
he
kill,
wants to
yeah.
satisfy that need, and that's why he's painting the smiley to traumatize the person who loves that person the most, usually like to see it and then see the body. But for this, it was solely I think he's trying to play with Jane and to
Yeah.
give Jane the body, and then impeccably plan the skywriting to happen like a second later. I think is more for Jane than it is for anyone else.
Yeah, and it's so flashy, right? Like it really it feels like taunting.
Yeah, and Jane points it out, I think, in the episode. Like, I think he's like,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel right, with Red John, which I think, we don't know exactly how much was Red John's plan and how much is, the person following in Red John's footsteps plan. So.
And I loved it because I don't know if you remember this. I posted it on the bullpen last year, but right as I was starting to watch this show, I saw a skywriting smiley face in my city, and I was like, "Oh crap!"
That would traumatize me. I don't ever want to see that.
Yeah, like on the subreddit, people like to do that. They'll like take any smiley face and they'll be like, "Oh, it's Red John." And sometimes I'm just like, "That's just a smiley
No.
face. Come on."
It's got to have like the not meeting in the top for me. Like even more than the
Yeah.
eyes, like I need the like not finished circle.
But there was one that somebody posted that they took a picture while they were driving and it was from the back of a truck, and I was like, "Oh, that is very specifically the Red John smiley face." So that was creepy. Like if I saw that driving all around, I'd be like, "Oh, let's go wherever that person's not driving." But so Sheriff Hardy takes Jane and Lisbon to meet the Plaskets, and he's like he's complaining about his nicotine gum, and this becomes an important detail later. Jane goes to see the girls' bedrooms, and when he's in there with the father asks if they think that Maya is dead, and Jane immediately says yes. And I think this is like a two-pronged kind of approach for him, because he says that he wants to throw him off because you can see him specifically looking at the guy's reaction and how he answers questions. So this is just like what we talked about before, right? Jane throws people off and he sees how they react. That's how he reads them. But I don't know. I think part of it is also he's trying to help manage this guy's expectations, right? So
That's what I got to. Like, I mean, obviously he says he was trying to raise his pulse, but I was like, he's been through this before and he knows what false hope is.
Yeah. I also think he's almost like, I would actually go a little further and say he's biased against the worst outcome. And so it's maybe he's not trying to raise expectations. It's definitely the raising pulse thing. But I think also it's this third, like, he's had such tragedy with Red John that his immediate response is like, if Red John's after you, it's all over and there's no hope. And so I think it's like, I think he has blinders on a little bit. And I think Lisbon's answer is the cop answer, but I think it's also actually a more honest answer because Red John doesn't kidnap that we've seen. So there would really be no way to know whether he would be interested in kidnapping someone and killing them. It's like a different kind of MO.
Yeah, but we do get to learn more about Red John's MO in their conversation here, because he says, why the change in MO? He says, He usually catches his female victims when they're at home alone, and not, this time it's twins, and now someone's been kidnapped. So he's like, like something is off here. Something else, someone else is involved, because it doesn't make sense to him. He doesn't think that they're random targets, and I mean that's a really good observation. So I liked that they put that in. Next, we have Van Pelt. She goes to the skywriting company, and I thought it was so funny how the lady was like so happy. She's like, "Did I do a good job? Did you like it?
Was it good round?"
She was so proud.
Do you think she ever found out what it was really about? Because
I hope not.
I know, the poor lady. That would ruin my day if I was like, "Oh my god, I did such a good job with this job, and I got paid in advance." But what? What do you mean it was for a serial killer?
Oh, dude.
And she had to go do it at a very specific time of the day.
I was thinking, what if she did it multiple times throughout the day just to, like, I'm not sure when they'll get there, so I want you to do it.
The CBI wasn't there yet. You gotta go again. One more time. One more time.
Just picturing like Simon Baker doing the Red John voice on the phone. Nope, again.
They're stuck in traffic. One more time.
It wasn't round enough. Do it again.
So next we have Jane Lisbon at the house again. He's looking at family photos, and he asked about the twins' brother, and he gives a reading to the parents on the differences between the twin girls, and then he's kind of blunt and rude to the parents, like making observations about her drinking and his like what's a good way to describe what he was saying about the husband? I guess that he's just overbearing and controlling, right?
And pious.
Yeah.
Yes, like, just uptight.
It always makes me uncomfortable when Jane is like this, just because it's like what Lisbon says earlier. She's like, how can you be so cruel? Right? And that's like one of the parts that I found really off-putting about Jane in the first season. Is just he's entertaining, but at the same time, his method in getting people to react just makes you feel like kind of like crappy.
Well, yeah, because it's so sad. Like when he fleshes out the killer, like of course that's good, but he tries to flesh it out of all these people that are really just victims. And so he's just like harassing victims constantly.
Yeah.
I think I liked the look on Lisbon's face. Like they exchanged like a little look at the end where she's kind of like, okay, cool it down, which like I do think that in this kind of case where if two teenage daughters disappear, like the parents are the best like fount of information, and I think being a little cruel, I don't see it as bad. I mean, there's some times I think in season 1 with Jane where he overacts, but in this one I feel like Lisbon was almost waiting for him to go too far, and he didn't quite hit that point. And I don't know, that's just kind of how I took it. But I feel like it's aggressive, but it gets
the job done, right? Yeah, because like with I think it was in Red Rum with the Cody Elkins, that was also a kid, right, who got murdered, and he was kind of bad with the family, but he got them to talk about a lot of things and give them a lot more details, and it turns out the dad was the killer, right? So
yeah, the script for this one, they do go even deeper into Jane just kind of breaking up this husband and wife to kind of get them to turn on each other, because they are kind of hiding details to save face. You know, that Hardy says that they lived in this county before it was a county. Like they have a reputation, and that they're trying to protect it.
Yeah, and I feel like he can definitely sense that they have like an unspoken pact that they're not going to talk about this one thing that's really embarrassing about their daughter, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so when he finally gets the wife to blow up at her husband, basically to tell him to shut up, and then she admits that Emma has been getting into drugs and she is dating someone. She calls him a dubious character, and I was like, who talks like that? Also, oh my god, the decor in their house was killing me.
Yes. I was like, they're supposed to be like old money, and house is like just
it was like 90s McMansion, like with the window dressings and everything. It was just
even their couch, it was like pink and white plaid or something. And I was just like, oh my God, did this woman really pick this couch in a store? Just very country, right?
Yeah. Small town chic.
Yeah,
especially California, you picture people in California having better taste. I don't know if that's true, but like
But okay, so they name a guy named Mace Guthrie, which is a name that they got from their son, apparently. And Hardy says that he knows him and he's a small time thief. So he takes him to Guthrie's place and he asks Jane if he carries a gun. He says, no, never. And so I feel like this is where they start to establish Jane's aversion to guns. Or have they done it before? I don't think they've addressed it this season, right?
They have not. I don't think they've stated it so plainly before, but there was a Russet Potatoes where he says his gun is Lisbon.
But he tells Jane to stay back, and then they go and open the door, and a dog rushes at them, and
scared the crap out of me. I don't know if anybody else. Like, I had forgotten about it, and I was like, I was watching it on my bed, and I was like, nearly rolled off. I was like, so shocked. And the dog is so sweet later, so I don't know what is up with the dog in that exact moment. But
so Guthrie flees out the back. He whaps the other deputy with a 2x4 and gets away. And Jane's observation is just like, that's a very loyal dog. So Cho and Rigsby go to a mailbox company. I love this part. He talks to a woman asking for Suite 121, and she shows them a mailbox, and they're like, no, we want Suite 121. She explains that she's a front to make people look like small companies or big companies. But I have a comment about this later too when they show the envelope that they find in there. So she asks if they have a warrant, and they try to pull that whole "this is a murder investigation," and they kind of lean on her, try to get an impression, but she's not gonna have it. It's so funny. She's like, "You have a wife?" And Cho says, "No." She's like, "I have a niece." I love how Rigsby is just like, dude, go for it.
I feel like "I'll be here following the law" is like genuinely one of my favorite lines in the whole show. Like, I always crack up when she's like, "Oh yeah, go get a warrant. I'll be here following the law." Do you have a wife? Like, I mean,
and she's like, "When you come back, I'll have a picture for you." And she has a copy shop too, so she's probably just gonna like print it herself, right? Gotta get a good high-res headshot, and then I'll have that ready for him when he brings his warrant back.
It's funny because I feel like if it were Jane would like lean into it and, see if he could like, not seduce is the wrong word, but like flirt be like, "Oh yeah, like your niece is like," but the way that Cho just doesn't even interact with it at all, or even think, "Oh, maybe if I agree to go on a date with this girl, I'll get that's where I thought it was going the first time I watched it. I thought he was gonna flirt, like say he'd go out with her and they'd open the mailbox.
I love that.
It's just no.
Thanks, that's okay.
The next scene is back at Guthrie's, and they're all hiding in the car because apparently they're going to make that guy who got hit by the wood. They're going to make him up. This poor guy.
He's the red shirt of the episode for the Star Trek fans.
They're gonna make him open the door and let the dog loose because Jane's idea is that the dog's gonna go straight to the guy Guthrie. And oh my god,
do dogs do this? Like, is this a thing that can happen? I was like watching it and like I've never had a dog, but like, would a dog run out of the house and find its owner? Like,
I was thinking that too. I was like, wow, would Miso be able to find me if I ran and hid?
It is not a short distance.
They follow him in the car.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like that dog would follow you every time you leave the house then, because he just did it without any, like, I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
How many times has this dog been let out of the house? Like, just unleashed like that, though. Like, he would usually be with his owner. So, I mean, I think he's just super excited.
Did you see how high that dog jumped over a fence, too? I was like, wow, that was a good jump. good dog.
Practicality aside, like I like that because I didn't understand in the previous scene why Jane had said like, oh, it's a loyal dog. I was like, why are you getting that? So at least it made sense of that. And like, I don't know. I just like think like, what if this guy like went out of town or something? Would the dog just keep running and running and running? Like,
it just doesn't make any sense.
Makes me think of the dog in the Redwood episode where they're like, so how far can this dog go? And the guy's just like, I don't know, I'm just following him.
It's a mentalist dog. That's how he was able to find his owner.
dogs are different in California.
The mental image I have of the dog doing like a psychic reading now is like the most mental image you could have.
Okay, so they take Guthrie into the CBI, and I don't know. I mean, it kind of seemed like San Angelo is really far away from Sacramento, so I guess they had to take him all the way back to to the CBI. But Jane is being allowed to interrogate him. He asked about the twins, and he gets really serious. He's like, I have a deep personal interest in this case, and I will frame you for murder. I will torture you. I will kill you. And I was just like, what is Jane doing? And then it goes to Minnelli, who's like, what is Jane doing?
This is on tape.
And he actually says, control your man, which is actually a line that comes up later too. So I had forgotten that Minnelli says this.
I hated that, like, to me, like, not to be thirsty about Jane, but him rolling up his sleeves at the beginning of the scene is so hot. And so I was like, oh, he's so hot. And then he started threatening the guy, and I was like, oh, I need to, like, pull myself back.
That's why he was rolling up his sleeves, though, right? He was like, I'm
going in
now.
Gotta show the forearms before I threaten to murder people.
And I love that Lisbon kind of was okay with it, right? She's like, yeah.
She's like, cut him some slack. He doesn't mean it.
I really think like Lisbon, and I don't know how much this comes up. I think it comes up a lot in season 1 and, you know, some later too. Like she looks normal by virtue of Jane being like extra crazy, but like I feel like she's willing to go there a lot. Like, you know, she gives him such a long leash on these things, and I feel like Minnelli I feel like Minnelli is standing there thinking, is this how all their cases go?
I know.
I'm like, not in the room with, where like Lisbon just lets him threaten people to death.
Yeah, I would think he would be like, is this a good idea?
I also really love the shot of like when they show like at the very end when they show the cameras recording Jane and Mace, and then like in the foreground, and then Minnelli and Lisbon, and then the interrogation room. I don't know. I just like wrote it down as like on my notes as like a cool moment of cinematography with like the different layers. I don't know if you guys remember that moment.
I just remember that Jane gussied his hair on the way out. He was like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't pick that up. But I do like that Minnelli, he is fully aware. And I feel like this is why he's in the room, because he knows it's Red John. He knows he's got to be extra careful. Because I like when he says, you know that he can't think straight when it has to do with Red John. He says he would do all he said and more if you let him. And so he knows what a loose cannon Jane can be, but I feel like he lets him be like that, except when it comes to Red John. He knows that like, oh, I need to pay more attention here, right? Because yeah, so I like that they show that he's aware of the lengths that Jane will go to, because I feel like the team probably has like, because they're closer to him than Minnelli, they probably have like a kind of bias, right? They think, oh, Jane wouldn't do that, right? Yeah.
I feel like Lisbon does have a moderating influence on him, though. I think she chooses her moments very rarely to have that influence. But I do wonder, like, this is hypothetical, obviously, but if it comes to Jane thinking about doing those things, I do think that Lisbon has some potential to stop him from doing those things, which I think is like why Minnelli is like, if you let him do these things, he'll do them. But I think he recognizes by the if you let him that Lisbon has that influence. and really only Lisbon, which is why, he can't split them up.
Yeah. But also I feel like he's worried that she will let him because she gives him a lot of slack. She cares about him, and so she gives him the benefit of the doubt. She's a little too optimistic, I think, about him making the right decision. At this point, I don't think she is like Minelli. Like she still thinks that Jane will take her side, her viewpoint of things when it comes to this. So she's not. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an element of controlled chaos. Like she can control him, but only so much. And I don't think that any of them knows where that line is, right? Like they'd
Yeah.
all, I think, discover it together.
Yeah, I think so. I guess what I'm trying to say, this is like a blind spot for Lisbon. I feel like when it comes to Rajan, she's confident that Jane will make the right decision, but her right decision, her idea of the right decision, is different from his, and I don't think she quite sees that yet. So, and it comes up at the end, right? So Guthrie tells Jane that he had a thing with Emma, but that he was getting threats from a man. And so this is the man that Jane had like this is the I think the personal connection that Jane had been honing in on earlier. And so it's proving him right. Like there's someone in the picture who knows the Plaskett twins, who doesn't want this guy to be seeing Emma. And so he knows that they have to find out who this guy is, because this is probably the guy who's a Red John accomplice. So I feel like at this point, Jane is like a bloodhound. So he asks, "Oh, how did you guys know?" And so they knew because of the mom, and she said it was the brother. So that leads them to want to go talk to the brother. So they go back to the Plaskett house. They give a quick update on the search, and Lisbon explains that they're investigating, but Hardy is looking for her, which
That confused me a lot.
Yeah, I had that written down in my notes too. Like, you mean the guy who's been going around with them since the beginning is the guy who's supposed to be looking for the missing girl?
Well, and I realized like they would divide and conquer certain things, but you'd think that she would at least know like where they were looking, right? Because she's supposed to be finding clues for where to look. So like I don't know. I didn't understand it.
Yeah. And also, it sucks because he knows exactly where she is.
Right.
I think it would have made more sense if they had separated it out into the search and the murder investigation, which is what I kind of thought they were going to do. But then they were just saying she's generally the investigative person. And I'm like, those are two very different things you're investigating, though.
Yeah.
And so I kind of expected the CBI to come in for the murder only, which makes sense. I mean, the CBI probably only has jurisdiction over the murder, right? Like, I don't know why they would have jurisdiction over the...
Well, I mean, they did the Cody Elkins case, and it was because he was a kid. So I don't know. Maybe they had her, but then she's 19, so I don't know.
I think that like the serious crimes part of the unit does a lot of heavy lifting in these cases, right? When they like want to blur the edges a little bit.
Oh, plus it's a Red John case, right? So they think that Red John has this girl, so that would explain it. Yeah. They question the brother. And what did you guys think about the brother? Because when I first saw him and he started talking, I was like, is this guy British and trying to speak American? But I looked him up and he's born in the US. So I was like, well, okay, never mind. I guess I'm just off.
Yeah, that didn't stand out to me. I don't know.
He didn't stand out to me a lot, period. I guess like he seemed like a very...
I guess he just seemed kind of old too to be their brother.
Well, his name is Drake. And that's about as far as I got. Like, it just feels very pretentious.
So Jane goes to look in the girls' room again, and he notices a camera on the hideous drapes. Or the hideous curtains, or whatever they are. He yells for Lisbon, and then he pulls down a wire and finds a transmitter and a microphone. And I was just like, when he was pulling it down, I was like, how the hell did these girls not see this whole... I know. It was a black wire too, and they had like light colored walls, and I was like, oh my god, like why is the camera so... Yeah, the camera was like so like slickly hidden. I was like, ooh, that's really hard to spot. And then he starts pulling all the wire down. I'm like, oh my god, that is...
And he's touching everything.
I know, that's what I wrote down too. I was like, forensics has not even been here.
Maybe all the pieces of tape, maybe those could have had. He didn't touch any of the tape. But so the family comes running in, and Jane is like accusing the brother, and because I guess he's doing his thing where he's trying to throw him off too. But the father remembers that there was a break-in 8 months ago.
Which
how is this
was
not the
that
first thing that comes? Like, I have in all caps. How is that not the first thing you're telling the investigator?
This is like highly relevant information. And that they're just like, oh, we just remembered.
BP dubs.
Why didn't I guess because it's Hardy. Because yeah. I guess that you would have been like, why didn't Hardy tell us about this? Because he says that he filed a police report, right?
Honestly, I wonder if that's part of the reason they started suspecting him, because that's a weird thing not to bring up.
That's a good point, yeah. So we go back to the mailbox place, and Rigsby's on the phone with Lisbon because I guess Jane wanted to be on the phone when they opened it. The Korean lady, she brings out a photo of her niece to show. I love that he comments she's very attractive. But oh my god, the way that she was describing her was so funny. It was so typical Asian auntie. She's beautiful, like movie star, but well behaved. The well behaved part was what killed me. But Cho declines, and I was trying to figure out what Rigsby was doing because he motions behind his back, and I think he's trying to tell the lady to give Cho her phone number, right? Even though he said no, because he makes like a writing motion behind Cho's back, and he's like being like funny about it. So I think he was just trying to say like, yeah, give her number to him.
This is addressed in the script.
What does he mouth? Because I tried to read it and I just couldn't.
Yeah. Rigsby pantomimes his intention to give the store owner Cho's name and number.
Oh, okay.
It was like, I'll give you his number.
He's a good
I was close. But she opens the box and hands him an envelope addressed to Roy Taliaferro. And this was the part that I was just like, what? Because the address on the envelope didn't make sense. Shouldn't there have been a street plus Suite 121? Because it's just Roy Taliaferro, Suite 121, and then the city. And I was just like, has no one? I mean,
yeah.
you need a street address.
I wrote that down too. I was like, are these streets like so impressive that like everyone in town like knows what they are?
Nice. If the town is small enough, then you don't need as much information.
That's true. Because actually, I used to have pen pals in Finland and Norway, and I used to see the address, and I used to be like, "That's it."
Yeah.
And they explained to me that my town is so small, the mailman just knows where I live. So it's so funny though, because the lady said that if you want to look like a big company, you just. But it's like your town is so small that you don't need a street address. That doesn't look very big to me. So Jane reads a copy. How did he get this copy of the letter? He's holding a paper of it, right?
Fax machine.
Yeah.
That's my only explanation.
I wonder sometimes if people know what a fax machine is.
Oh.
That's in the next episode. We'll get educated.
Oh, is that the Miles Dorson one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. So Jane is reading a copy of the letter, and basically it's from a woman named Rosalind, and she's telling him. I was so confused about this because she's saying, I found your business card behind my sofa. I still love you, and I hope you'll come back to me. And I was just like, wait, so she found this business card and she knew it was from him, and she was able to write him a letter. And so I was like, did she have someone help her? Because later on they explain that she's blind. So how did she find that card? And it's like she specifically says that she leads a solitary life too. So I was just like,
and it's so sloppy too, right? To like just like, oh, like oops, my business card fell out and fell under the couch. Like,
yeah,
it felt like a stretch.
Yeah,
I'm assuming she has someone that like comes weekly or monthly to do some stuff for her. I don't know. I was trying to like fill in details that weren't there, but I have a friend who is blind and lives alone, and she has like a weekly person that comes and helps her sort through her mail and stuff like that.
So yeah, they go to her house and they actually find her, like they have to like find her through like creative means, because I guess she had not put any return address, and so they had to look at the postmark and go to that town and ask about anyone named Rosalind. And Lisbon explains that there's only two in the town, and the other one's 73 years old, but they can hear her playing piano as they approach, and she answers the door. Lisbon shows her ID, and then Rosalind immediately asks to see ID, so they know right there that something's up. And yeah, she's blind. She's not going to tell them anything about Roy until they tell her what they want him for, and um, Jane just tells her, "Well, we think he's Red John, a serial murderer." Which, if I was her, I'd be like, "What?" But yeah, so they asked to go in, and she says no, and she tries to close the door, but Jane is like, I feel like with the thing earlier with what he said, that he'll do whatever it takes. Like, he's not supposed to stick his foot in the door and chase her into her house, right?
Oh
I mean,
goodness.
There's some gray area there.
Yeah, and this one just let him. She doesn't even go upstairs, right? She stays downstairs.
That's what I thought was so interesting, is that she let him handle the conversation. And I feel like it was because she felt Rosalind respond to Jane telling her that he killed his wife, that Red John killed his wife and child, like, and just wanted to let them have a conversation. But it was definitely very much like a pullback on Lisbon's part, where she normally doesn't pull back and let Jane do things alone.
Yeah. After he tells Rosalind what happened, she lets him in because she feels so bad for him. And she goes and she sits down, and then Jane sees the Red John smiley above her bed, and he looks really unnerved here. I felt really bad for him. But she insists that she's a good judge of human nature, and she's sure that this Roy guy is a good man. And so, like, Jane like concedes, well, maybe Red John is just using his identity. So I don't know, like, what do we think? Is Rosalind just not a good judge of? Is she just lonely and she just let him get the better? What is it? I mean, because he's not just using his identity, right? The Roy guy is Red John, right? That's like accepted,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So my sense was she's not not a bad judge of character, right? It's just like, I don't know. She overall seems like kind of odd, right? Like, if somebody comes to your door and wants to interview you, like really like running away and saying, "I can't hear you," is like, that's like a weird response. And so, and she's so isolated. Like, I don't know, that she believes that she's a good judge of character, but it's just because she's kind of an eccentric person. And so, like, she's developed, these beliefs and narratives about the world that don't necessarily match reality.
Yeah, and I mean, I think someone can be very, especially Red John, who we already like know to be a very clever person, like
Charmer,
can
yeah.
be good to you and not good to other people. And I don't know, like, I think she could have been, I think Jane had like a lot of pity for her in that moment. I was trying to like, strike a balance between, I think there's like a interesting, breakdown between his reaction to Rosalind saying these things that are obviously false, and then the family of Maya and Emma saying those things, and Jane needling one and not needling the other. And I couldn't really decide if it was like pity, or if he just decided that he could catch more flies with honey with Rosalind, get more out of her if she thought that they weren't really interested in Roy. But I don't know. I found that and the Red John smiley face being in the background the whole time just really was off-putting. And I hate that no one takes that down. Like, I hate that they just leave that there over her bed. Like, it really like struck me as kind of odd that Jane would not go back and scrub that off.
Also, not to like nitpick, but it was so high up on the wall. Is he just super tall? Did he get a ladder and do it?
He's on the bed, Also, was it blood? Was it like, what paint?
No.
Like,
I was just so bothered by the fact that if he did stand on her bed, I mean, did he stand on her bed with shoes? Because that's so rude.
That's where you draw the line, Crystal.
Guy is a monster.
Murder is secondary to speed on the bed with shoes on.
You have no idea, right? Like, oh, she's probably sleeping on his like feet germs. Ooh.
So
yeah, I think that's it's part of the reason why Jane is so, gentle with her as opposed to the other people that he's questioned this episode. I think that he doesn't like feel sorry for her necessarily because of her isolated life, but I think that he sees her as a sort of victim of Red John, right? It's like the smiley face is like it's threatening her. It's like saying like I was here, I was close, like I can come back. I can, I could kill her if I wanted to. And so I think that he in a sense feels almost protective of her because he knows that she could so easily be victim.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I also don't like though how like he doesn't, by not telling her the truth, I think they're doing like they're making it worse for her. Like to not have like she needs to face the fact that obviously Red John is Roy, and like if he comes back, like I don't know, like all of it was just like I feel like they're almost too gentle with her for her own safety.
Though, like, I wondered if not telling her was also somewhat strategic, because if he did come back and she confronted him,
and he would be able to tell. Yeah.
Well, and she's a goner, right? Like, so I thought maybe like, it's like letting her stay in that, like relationship, in a sense, like keeps her from being a threat to Red John, which can then keep him from having a reason to kill her. So that was my take on it.
And actually, I was gonna say this earlier, but like I think like her whole relationship with him speaks a lot toward like her loneliness, because like Lisbon is kind of incredulous, right? She's just like, oh, he's just showed up at your door one day and you just started an affair with him, like,
which is a fair reaction, right? Like that's odd.
Yeah, she's definitely a like I maybe over romanticizing things type person. I mean, I think people who are lonely like that could fall into that trap, but I don't know. I just like I think like what I would want to know, like even if it like hurt. And so I just kept thinking, I feel like they just kind of leave her there without really giving her anything, whether it's telling her about the smiley face over her bed, like any of it, like it just struck me as kind of odd, I guess. But I see your point that it could have protected her.
But so she gives Jane a lot of good information. She says that he's just under 6 feet tall. He's not muscular, but not soft. That he has short, straight hair, a gentle voice, rough, strong hands, and that he smells of pine and nails and earth. And
but that's like not inaccurate. I was shocked. I was like, oh, they really found somebody. Like, and I was thinking about the Red John suspects, and I was like, oh, like this is kind of the person that you would describe that way. And I was like impressed actually, because I didn't remember that description being so accurate.
Yeah. Although, like, when you take that into account, why was Reed Smith on his list? If this is...
Well, it had been a little while. So.
Maybe he gained weight, yeah.
Okay. But the biggest information she gives is that Roy once brought a man named Dumar to Thanksgiving dinner. I guess he was like so impressed that this blind woman could cook, so he wanted to come see for himself. But oh my god, when she first says Dumar, I was like, Dumar? I've literally never heard that name in my life except on this show. It was such a strange name. But she said he smoked a lot and was trying to quit, and he brought her a stuffed elephant, and then she still had the elephant, so they took her elephant. They took the elephant all the way back to the CBI. I don't know where Hattiesburg is supposed to be, but they took it. But she says that she mentioned that he was cruel to her, and she explains it's because he never said goodbye. He just never came back. And so and I can see how like that must have been so hard for her, because I mean he has all the power, right? She had no idea who he was really, and
I bet that's why that relationship was satisfying to him, is because she really Like he could come, like he takes away her power without needing to kill her.
The smoking thing is a clue though, because as I mentioned, the nicotine gum thing. But I already knew because it's Michael Mosley. Mystery X.
He has a serial killer look about him, right? Like he reminds me of Skeet Ulrich in Scream. Like
Oh yeah, I
he
can
looks
see.
like a serial killer.
That was such a good twist when I first saw Scream in theaters. I remember that. I remember just being like, "What?"
One of the best movies of all time.
I know. Oh my god. I remember being so freaked out about the intro with Drew Barrymore, because you're just like, "Oh, Drew Barrymore is in this movie," and then, "Oh, she's not in this movie anymore." Oh, seriously, one of the best like opening scenes for a horror movie. But Melanie gets them to check the surveillance on nearby convenience stores, and Lisbon reminds Cho that Rosalind wants her elephant back.
Which is so weird. Like the elephant in and of itself is weird. Like, thank you for having me for Thanksgiving dinner and teaching me that blind women can cook. Here's an elephant.
And it's not even from Roy. It's from this rando who just showed up with him.
Yeah. So I need help with this part. Rigsby tries to make a joke about it would be ironic or something. He says something about it would be ironic, and Cho's like, why? But what was Rigsby trying to say?
Was it the elephants never forget part?
No, that was like
no. I think it was
owner
no. It's ironic that she was blind, and then
Cho says, "How is that ironic?
How is that ironic?" And then Rigsby says, "Whatever, it's messed up. You know, it'd be fine." I just feel like he doesn't. It's like Rigsby not understanding what the word ironic means.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Like that's all I can think of.
But what does he mean though? Like, what does he think it means?
I think that people just misuse it, right? When something unexpected happens, they just say it's ironic, regardless of whether it's ironic. And so I think that it
could be. Oh yeah, and like talking about how they, the fact that the only person who has met Red John that they know is someone who's blind and can't identify him.
Alanis Morissette wrote this scene. So Van Pelt tells Manelli that she can't find anything on Roy's name, and he tells her to search for cut iron because that's what Taliaferro means. And I was like, wow. That came out of nowhere.
And like,
I'm surprised his confidence.
And Jane didn't think of that, right? Like that feels like a Jane thing to notice. Like, why is Manelli picking up on it?
I guess because
Manelli just
Manelli is
like,
Italian.
Oh yeah, I'm so smart. Yeah. Like, I am good. I am a good investigator. I feel like they always throw those moments out at like lead, people who are like higher up in these kinds of shows where they're like, oh yeah, that's how they got to where they are now, is that they were actually a pretty good investigator. That was like one of Manelli's version of that moment.
So this does give us a timeline clue, because I guess it's like early in the year, because Manelli refers to Thanksgiving as being a few months ago, and the letter to Roy was postmarked in December. So I'm assuming that the letter was just sitting there for a while, because I guess Roy hasn't checked that mailbox. But
there's a slight breakdown though, because there's some contradiction, because Rosalind says it's been 6 months since Roy left her. And at one point, I think Rigsby says it's been 5 months since the elephant was purchased. So it doesn't quite line up there. But it would put it around May or June, right? The episode aired in May. So I think they're just trying to go with that.
Do you think Red John didn't check his mailbox, or do you think he left it there on purpose? Because I always thought he left it there on purpose so that when Van Pelt found out what the name of the place was.
I think he just stopped checking it. I don't think he intended, because I mean, Hardy says it later, right? It wasn't part of the plan that they would find Rosalind. So I think he probably didn't even know that she wrote that letter. At least that's my take on it. So
yeah, I thought that, whatever business he had in the area that ended, that he stopped coming around to tend to, I thought it was related to the mailbox, and so he didn't have reason to check it anymore. So I don't know who was paying for it.
Right, that's what I was thinking too.
Because that lady, the shopkeeper, did not seem like she would let him, like, skate.
No,
Right.
no way. But it's weird to me that, like, Red John had to know that the name of the Skyrider would lead to that mailbox. And so it's weird to me that he would just leave that in for he wouldn't check the mailbox before.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. I always wondered if maybe he didn't tell Hardy the full story about but did want them to find
yeah,
Rosalind,
that's true.
but I don't know.
Yeah. I think overall, like in this episode, there were a lot of like steps along the way where I wasn't sure if Red John was doing it or if Hardy was doing it, and if it was intentional or an accident. And like, I don't know, there were a couple of those where I feel like it could go either way.
And I feel like from Red John's perspective, he's probably just like, oh, this is why I shouldn't work with somebody, because you don't know what they're going to do on their own, right?
And we never really get a full idea of like whether this was actually him grooming Hardy to be more important, or if it was just like him using another pawn.
Yeah.
Because the title seems to imply that like Hardy is trying to be like Red John, but we don't really ever get a sense from Red John whether he cares anything about Hardy.
Yeah. I mean, Gene says himself, he's just using you. You're just a tool, right? So thanks so much for listening to Rom-Com Detectives, episode 57, The Way of the World, part 1. Our discussion will continue and hopefully conclude in The Way of the World, part 2. If you're enjoying Rom-Com Detectives, please consider taking a minute to leave us a review or rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you'd like to join additional conversations about The Mentalist, you can visit the Mentalist subreddit at reddit.com/r/The Mentalist, and you can join the Mentalist Bullpen Discord server at discord.gg/mentalistbullpen. To contact me and Karin, email us at host@romcomdetectives.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Blue Sky, or Threads at Rom-Com Detectives. If you'd like to ask us a question or tell us your own thoughts about the episode, you can leave us a voicemail or text message at 1-650-733-XOXO or 9696. This episode of Rom-Com Detectives was recorded on March 1st, 2026. Rom-Com Detectives Mentalist Unit is co-hosted by Krista Watanabe and Karin Lubbers and is produced by Pico's House.